Hey everybody, and welcome to the first episode of our new Join the Nightmare series. Throughout this series, I'm going to create a new account within Nightmares and walk you through everything you need to know from, just starting out and getting started in the game, all the way through building out your collection, building different deck archetypes, completing all of the cool different challenges you can complete within Nightmares, and just kind of showing off everything you can do within the game and the best way to get there, right? The best moves to make with your in-game resources, the best ways to go about trying to earn those, and what I think are some of the coolest strategies and archetypes you can play within the game. So, with that being said, in the first episode, we're going to kind of do a getting started in Nightmares, show you how to orient yourself, get your account created, show you what you start with and how to best use the resources that you have out the gate. So without further ado, let's create a new account. Alright, I'm going to use my Nightmares Gmail account. We're going to call this Nightmares Content. Seems good. Give it a password. Oops, hang on. Let's try that password again. Okay. Maybe I didn't give it a number. There we go. Okay, so we've created our Nightmares content account. So the first thing that's going to happen when you create your new account in Nightmares is you're going to go through the tutorial. And it's just going to take you through a couple turns of the game and just walk you through some of the basics. So it's not very long, but we'll take a look at it here together. So the first thing is just walking you through what happens at the start of a turn. So at the start of each of your turns, you're going to draw a card. And then each player's sanity will lower by 1. Your sanity starts at 12. You can see it. It's this number right here. Your opponent's is up towards the top right-hand corner. And each player will then receive mana equal to the amount of sanity they've lost so far this game. So when you go from 12 to 11, you receive 1 mana. The next turn, when you go from 11 to 10, you'll receive 2 mana, and so on and so forth. So once you've drawn your card and sanity has lowered for the turn, then the main phase will begin, and that's when you can start playing cards. All right, so we'll say continue. So we draw our first card. Sanity lowers, so we've gone down to 11. We have 1 mana available now. So now we're going to look at playing a creature. So each card's mana cost is denoted in the top left corner, right here. And in your starting hand, we'll see that we have 1 card that cost 1, right? So 1 card that we can play with the 1 mana we have available. This is the Demonic Lackey. So when you play a creature, it takes up 1 of the 5 board slots, that you have. And they can attack the opponent, and they can defend when other creatures attack. There's some nuances to that, but we'll get into that as we go further. But for now, we'll just play. So you just drag him out towards the center of the screen, and it will play him. You can see he's now in play. And then the tutorial is telling us to go ahead and end our turn. We spent all of our mana, and creatures, importantly, cannot attack the turn they're played. There is a keyword that lets you get around this, but our creature doesn't have it. So there's nothing to do now but just end our turn. So we'll say continue, and end the turn, and it'll pass over to the opponent's turn. Alright, so they play a creature as well. It has an effect, but it's not really important for the purposes of this tutorial. All we need to know is it's a creature with 1 power and 1 toughness, similar to our creature with 1 power and 1 toughness. Okay, so we're going to look at another card type. We're going to look at spells. So spell cards have a immediate effect when they're played, and unlike creatures, they don't persist on the board, they don't stick around. You play them, the effect goes off, and then they immediately go to your graveyard. And we do have a 2-cost spell in hand, this Ember's Ignite, so we'll go ahead and play that so you can kind of see how spells work. So you can see it's denoted by spell at the bottom. It costs 2, and this one will say it does 2 damage to the opponent. So we'll play it. And the opponent takes 2 damage, and as you can see, it went to our graveyard. Okay, so just a quick overview on how combat works. So you can, at any point in your turn, initiate combat by dragging a creature who's able to attack forward into the combat zone. As soon as you do that, it will... your in-turn button will change to a attacker's declared button. And once you've moved all of the creatures you want to attack with into that zone, you can click that, and then that will declare the attackers, and then your opponent gets the opportunity to declare how they want to block. And then once they've declared their blockers, then they'll have, similarly, a blocker's declared button they'll press, and then combat will take place. The creatures will fight each other. Both creatures facing each other's power is applied to the opposing creature's toughness. If their power is greater than or equal to the opposing creature's toughness, the opposing creature will get destroyed, and vice versa. It goes both directions during combat. And any creatures that aren't blocked, their attack will be applied directly to the opponent's health. Yeah, so, and then one important thing with combat in Nightmares, unlike a lot of games, there isn't another main phase. When combat concludes, the turn immediately ends. So that's important to keep in mind. Any cards you want to play, any effects you want to activate, you have to do it before combat. Which kind of adds some interesting nuances to the game, but we'll get into that in later games. Okay, so that's an overview. Right now, our creature is a 1/1, our opponent's creature is a 1/1, so if we attack, both will get destroyed. We don't want to lose our creature. So what the tutorial is telling us to do is just go ahead and end the turn. So we'll do that, and it's the opponent's turn again. Alright, so they play another 1/1. They choose not to attack, probably for the same reason, right? Okay. Alright, so now we're going to look at a third card type, Curses. So Curses take a specific zone on the board. It's separate from the 5 creature slots, but you can only have 1 curse in play at a time. So if you play one, it takes up that spot. It's now on the board and in effect. If you play a second one, the first one gets destroyed and the second one takes its place. Each curse will have some kind of effect. Some of them have activated effects, like Imp Factory, which we're going to play here in just a second, and you can pay whatever the cost associated with that effect is as many times as you would like during your turn to activate it, as long as you can pay the cost. And then there's also curses that have passive effects, so the entire time they're in play, that effect is just in effect. So we're going to play our Imp Factory. So it's a 3-cost curse, and its effect is as many times as you want during your turn, you can pay 2 mana to create a 1/1 Imp, which is a demon type. Okay, nothing else to do. Again, if we attack, our creature will just get destroyed. We don't want that to happen, so we will end our turn. Alright, the opponent played a 3/1, which is a little more intimidating. But again, they didn't attack, so that's okay. Alright, so now we're going to try activating the curse, right? So you double tap a curse that isn't passive to activate it. So we have 4 mana. Each activation of Imp Factory costs 2, so we're going to activate it twice. So we double tap it, and that creates this 1/1 Imp token, right? And then we'll pay another 2 mana and create a second one. So now we're up to 3 creatures, similar to our opponent. And again, no need for combat here. We're outmatched in this scenario, so we will just pass the turn. Alright, the opponent doesn't play anything, which is great for us. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at summon effects. So you'll see as we get further into the series and we play different games, there are all kinds of effects that creatures can have, but a lot of them have a summon effect, which is triggered when they're played onto the board. It's just triggered one time when they're played. One thing of note, if you've played other card games, summon effects in Nightmares trigger regardless of how it's brought onto the board. So if you play it with mana from your hand like normal, the summon effect will trigger. But also there are ways to like bring cards back from your graveyard or summon them from your deck, or special ways of summoning it. Some games don't treat that as a reason to trigger the summon effect, but in Nightmares we do. So any way that the creature is added to the board, the summon effect will then trigger. So we're going to play our Swarm Leader. He's a 4 mana 4/4, and his effect gives our other demons +1/+1. We have a board full of demons, so that's great. We end up with 3 2/2s. So we now have a bit of an advantage on our opponent within combat, so it's time to attack. So we'll drag all 3 forward, we'll hit attackers declared, and we'll show combat for the first time. So we're going to pull each of these forward. Note that you can at any time hit this cancel button, and it will bring your creatures out of the combat zone. You can also drag them out of the combat zone. In case you accidentally drag something forward, but you actually had more cards you wanted to play that turn, you can hit cancel, go back to playing your cards, and then go back into combat when you're ready. But we are ready, so we're going to hit attackers declared. Our opponent chooses to block 2 of them, so we get to kill their creatures, ours stay alive, and then we do 2 damage directly to them. So that was a very good combat for us. All right, so that's kind of the basic gameplay loop of Nightmares. There's obviously a lot more to it that we'll get into throughout the series as we continue, but that kind of gives us the basics, so we're now ready to play. So we will get to pick between 3 starter decks to receive, and then we're ready to jump into the game itself. So we'll hit continue. Now we're given the option of these 3 starter decks. There's a Sunken City deck built around Cthulhu, and it's all about graveyard effects, which is a lot of fun. There's a Void deck. Void is what we were just playing with the demons, and they use, swarms of demons like we just saw, and some pretty powerful burn effects to destroy the opponent. And then finally, there's the Black Forest starter deck. This is a traditional aggro deck. It's all about spiders that have the powerful Intimidate keyword, which we'll see as we get further into the game. But if you like aggro, this is the deck for you. I'm a big fan of the Graveyard Cthulhu strategy, so that's the deck we're going to go with to start. Alright, so we have completed the tutorial, we've chosen our starter deck, and we are now in Nightmares proper. So the first thing I want to do is just give you a quick kind of walk around the UI, what options you have. So up here in the right corner, we have our settings button, and this will give you the ability to log out of the game, delete the account, and then this button down here is really important. You can click that to join our Discord. We're a small but growing community, so the Discord is a great way to coordinate games against other players, and then we have in-game challenges that we run out of the Discord a lot that can get you a lot of extra in-game resources just for participating. So always a good option. We have the ability to play, so this will queue you into other players if there are other players available. If not, it'll queue you into a bot. But this is, we have a ladder system within Nightmares, so you queue into an opponent. If you win, you climb up the ladder, and towards the top of the ladder we actually have a leaderboard, and then we have, if you join the Discord, we have monthly challenges associated with that, trying to rank up higher than anybody else in the game. So that's just the traditional play. Campaign is a really fun single player mode. You can choose between 8 different campaigns where you'll start off playing against a traditional deck that one of the bots on the ladder would use against you, but every time you win a game, the opponent becomes more difficult. They get some kind of buff. But then you get additional rewards for winning as you make it further into the campaign. And when you lose, you get to add these cool treasures to your deck that make your deck stronger. It's a very fun, think of it kind of like a roguelite single player experience. And if you can get good at it, it's a really good way to build up your in-game resources, which you can then use in the shop. So we'll take a look at the shop real quick. So everybody when you create an account starts with 3,000 gems, which is our in-game resource, and you can use those to buy quite a few different things. So there's always going to be a latest card. These cycle every 8 hours. And it's always going to be a rare or legendary card. Rarities within Nightmares go common, uncommon, rare, and legendary. So it'll always be a rare or a legendary, and it cycles randomly between all of the rares and legendaries within Nightmares. So you can always buy those for 400 gems. We have booster packs, so you can buy a booster pack for the base set, the Dark Machinations expansion, or the newly released Scorched Earth expansion. So packs are 100 apiece. They come with 5 unique cards. We do have duplicate protection in the game, so once you've maxed out the copies you can play in a deck of a card, you'll stop seeing that one until you complete everything in that particular set. You're guaranteed to get a legendary at least one out every 10 packs, often more, and then rares you're guaranteed to see every 5 packs. So that's packs. We also have pre-con decks. So we have starter decks that you can buy, as well as pre-cons for the different expansions. We'll take a look at some of those in upcoming episodes. They're a good way to start building your collection. They're 2,000 gems apiece, so you start off the game with enough to buy any pre-con you want and still have 1,000 gems left over, which is really nice. And then finally, you can actually purchase gems with money. Now, you can play the game, earn gems just through winning matches, both in campaign and in regular play. And over time, you can build up enough resources in game to get everything in the collection without ever spending a penny. But we do offer this as an option for people who want to get access to the cards faster, right? But it is very reasonable to get access to everything in the game just by playing. So that's the shop. This is just a reminder to join the Discord. We do have in-game notifications that will pop up when some major things happen. And then we have the deck builder. So this is the starter deck that we chose. So you can see it's built over here. And then these are the cards that we start with. It's just the cards that exist in the starter deck. And then there's a button to disenchant extras. So as you're opening packs, when you end up with duplicates of cards, you can disenchant them for in-game resources. And then finally, we have the card catalog. So this shows you every card in Nightmares. You can take a close look at them. So as you're building out your collection, you can see what's there. One important thing is we have regular versions of cards, and then we have some full art collector's editions. The collector's editions you can get through some of the challenges in Discord, which is another great reason to join the Discord, right? So yeah, in here you can see all of the available cards across all of the sets in Nightmares. Okay, so that's, just a quick overview of the client. We played through the tutorial, we picked our starter deck. So that's it for episode 1. Episode 2, the next episode, we will start playing some games. We'll take a look at campaign. We may purchase a pre-con. And, we'll just continue our Nightmares adventures. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.